Hey guys, this is Locke. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the new hero. I don't know how to say her name. I'm going to probably end up swearing if I try to say her name. So I'm just going to call her the new green hero. I'm going to talk about her. I'm going to say if you should be pulling on her, if she's worth it. I've had a little bit of testing with her. So I thought I would make a video and provide my thoughts so you guys can hopefully make a little bit more of an informed decision. So let's talk about her. Um, let's go through her skills first and then kind of talk about how she would work. So her third skill, it provides a shield based off of her own max HP, which is pretty good. There aren't too many heroes that can shield, so shield is always a welcome kit to your party, especially if you don't have any other hero that can shield, because there are some bosses that do a ton of damage. So to be able to survive them, you want somebody who can shield. Okay, and in addition to that, she also gives herself something called Moonlit Veil and 2 turns of speed to all your allies. So the speed is standard. It's a really good buff. More speed is always better for both PvP and PvE. So speed is one of the best buffs you can have. Moonlit Veil, we're going to come back to this because there's a lot to talk about this. So we're going to come back to it in a second. Her second skill is not that amazing. It does 30% of her max HP as damage to a single enemy, and then has at the maximum level at level 4, it has a 100% chance to trigger Moonlit Veil for one ally. And at the level 5, it reduces skill cooldown from 4 turns to 3 turns. Honestly, it's not amazing. I wouldn't even bother leveling this up. It doesn't seem amazing to me at all. Now, for the first one, for her first skill, in addition to doing damage, she increases 2 random allies' turn meter by 8%, which goes up to 10% when you are, when you fully skilled it up. And then there's a second part to this Moonlit Veil that shows up here. So that's the reason why I wanted to wait for a little bit to talk about it. So what does Moonlit Veil do? So it's a buff that she applies to herself. She doesn't apply to all allies, only to herself. And then once she applies it to herself, any ally that takes a turn will benefit from Moonlit Veil. This is kind of similar to Valerian. Whenever Valerian uses her bubble, like the bubble effect is in effect for 2 of her own turns. So that's why a lot of people say you should make her very slow, because if she is slow, then the bubble effect will last, longer. So say Valerian had a speed of 100 and everyone else has a speed of say 300. So for 2 of Valerian's turns, I'm sure all of your other allies will go, 4 or 5 times in that 2 turns, right? So the bubble effect actually lasts for way longer than just 2 turns for allies' turns. It's similar with her. So because she's applying this buff to herself, that means that it's only for her 2 of her turns. For all other allies, they can take as many turns as they want within this 2 turn. So the effect of Moonlit Veil, whenever an ally takes a turn, they get turn meter. It says, at the base, it's 9% turn meter and 6% healing. So if you double it, because you're taking 2 turns, it's 18 turn meter and 12% healing. But if you make her very slow and you make your allies much faster, that could be 3 or 4 turns, right? And then in addition to that, if you look at her first skill, and then you read what it says for Brocade, while she does not have Moonlit Veil, whenever an enemy takes a turn, she gets an additional 6% turn meter. So if you build her very slow, and I would recommend you build her very slow, she will still actually move kind of fast when she does not have Moonlit Veil. So if 2 enemies go before her, she will automatically gain 12% of turn meter just from that, right? And once you get to 100, you take a turn already. The 12% is pretty big. And if you're looking at PvE stages where there are 4 or 5 enemies, even if you build her slow, she's not going to be, like a turtle. She will go pretty fast because of all the extra turn meters that she will get from enemies taking their turn. But then, once she casts Moonlit Veil on herself, then whenever an enemy takes a turn, it will have the opposite effect. So it will actually slow her turn meter down. So this is really good because this will actually make her Moonlit Veil effect last longer because her turns are taking slower. So I have, I'm pretty confident that it is probably going to be easy for you, your team, to take, at least 3 turns, if not 4 turns, while she takes only 2 turns, right? Especially in PvE stages where there's a lot of enemies. Against a boss fight and there's only one boss, okay, fine, then the effect of this does not really matter that much, right? But if there's, 3 or 4 enemies, then for sure this thing will definitely help to slow her down when she has the buff and speed her up when she doesn't have the buff. So this is actually like an even better version of Valerian in a way. To be honest, I think it's a direct upgrade of Valerian. Because what does Valerian do? She casts a shield for everyone on their turn, and that shield lasts for 2 of her turns. So what she does instead, she gives a shield to everybody at the beginning. She doesn't recast it during her uh, Moonlit Veil effect, but at the beginning she casts a 20% shield to everybody. And then for her own, whenever allies take their own turns, they get a speed up. Their turn meter is boosted, and they also get small heals, which adds up over time. So, to be honest, she is, in my opinion, a mix between Valerian and also I forgot her name. What is her? The Echo. So she's a mix between these two characters because what she does, she gives a lot of turn meter to all your allies, right? And that's kind of now what she's also doing for 2 turns. And then on top of that, she's also able to provide healing as well, and also the basic shield that she provides in the beginning. So overall, like she is, in my opinion, she's a pretty strong candidate. Now, do you really need her or not? That really depends, because it depends for what, right? So first of all, let's talk about PvE applications. I think if she was not a green hero, which is unfortunate that she's green, I think she would be very, very strong for Aurora, because all this healing and extra turn boosts, it's going to help your survival a lot. But it's just too bad that she's green and Aurora is red, so Aurora will probably just one-shot her. So you cannot bring her for that, which is really, really unfortunate, because I think if it wasn't for the fact that she was green, she would be a very strong candidate, and I would recommend people pull her just for that boss, because I think she would make a huge difference for that boss. But unfortunately, she is a green hero, so you cannot bring her for that. So that's one stage where you cannot use her. So what about the other two? For Doki Doki, yeah, I think she's pretty good. But then, is she going to be that much better than her? That's debatable. Because Shaki the Echo, she also provides an attack buff, right? She provides attack and speed meter, turn meter. Whereas if you, instead of, it's not that you're not doing damage, you just need more survival. If that's the case, then yeah, you can bring her instead. But I think for a lot of people, they would actually just prefer, especially now that people have been building teams for a while. I think you'd instead prefer teams where you wipe out the enemy faster instead of working on your survival, instead of working your defensive buffs. So I think for most people, she would be okay for Doki Doki. I think where the new hero would shine is if you are having trouble surviving Doki Doki, because if you're not able to survive, then her healings and her shield is definitely going to make an improvement for your team for Doki Doki. What about Terra Maiden? Well, that's, I mean, she could work there. She's not going to get the elemental advantage because they're both green. But if you are having trouble surviving, you can use her. The main thing, the main benefit to having Valerian over her is that when the boss takes a turn in the very beginning, the left hand always attacks you. So when the left hand attacks and then the boss takes a turn right away, most of the time, at least for all of my heroes, the boss can easily one-shot anyone on my whole team. So I have to bring Valerian. Like, there's almost no choice for me. Maybe if I get a lot more better defensive gears, maybe I might be able to survive it. But at this point, I really need to bring Valerian to be able to survive Terra Maiden. So if I'm able to bring her instead, and I'm able to have her very, very, very fast, right? that she's able to go before Terramaton takes a turn, then I could bring her instead of Valerian. But that's going to be very difficult because I don't really want her to go very fast. I want her to go slow, right? So I need to both make her go really fast to take the first turn, but then after that I want to slow her down a lot. That's not going to be an effective build, in my opinion. So I think because of that, I would probably want to bring Valerian anyway, unless even without her shield, I'm able to have everybody survive. If I'm able to do that, then I would bring her over Valerian. But if I'm not able to do that, I would probably just keep bringing Valerian. So that is a choice that you have to make. Are you at the stage where you can survive the first hit? If you can, then she might be better to bring than Valerian. If you cannot, then you obviously must bring Valerian so that you're not right off the bat you're losing one hero, right? But I would assume for most people they will have to bring Valerian to not instantly lose one hero as soon as the boss goes. So with that in mind, I mean, she's only really good for Doki Doki. That's the only stage where uh, you could bring her. But as I said, I think a lot of people would probably be okay getting away with her instead of the new hero. So you really have to make that call. Like, do you want somebody who's more defensive, or do you want somebody, who is more attack oriented? So this is only the three, what is it called again? The three threshold bosses. But there's a lot of other PvE content, right? Um, and a lot of other stages, like, this guy, if you're having trouble surviving him, she's probably going to make a pretty big difference because she's going to enable the survival of your whole team a lot better, right? And what about this guy? He changes his type every turn anyway. So she might be the only green hero that you bring that's going to speed up your team and provide survival and provide shields. So she might be able to help you with this boss. She might be able to help you with this boss. I haven't thought of very specific strategies for these guys, but this is a hero that can help you with these bosses, right? It's just the threshold that she's only good for Doki Doki. But for other PvE fights, she is pretty good. And especially when you get to stuff like this where the content is a lot harder, you do want to bring defensive heroes. Like, you typically only want to bring one attack hero, and then everyone else is usually defensive and trying to help your whole team survive. So she could be good for content like that. And then for PvP, I think she will be very good in like at a later stage, not right now, because right now a lot of people are focused on cleave teams, and the reason people are focused on cleave teams is because you want to build those teams to do content, right? Because a lot of bosses have some kind of timer where if you let a number of turns go, the bosses keep getting stronger and stronger. So you have to kind of defeat these bosses as soon as possible. So once you have built those teams, you kind of also use the exact same teams in your PvE content, right? And so for that reason, in PvP right now, a lot of the content, a lot of stuff that players are playing is more focused on cleave teams to attack enemies as soon as possible. In such a team like that, she is not really that strong because she doesn't really contribute in any way to, you know, she doesn't contribute offensively except for the turn meter boost. And then when the turn meter boost, it's only when a player takes a turn, then they get the boost, right? So she doesn't like, it would be better if on her turn she gives everyone a turn meter boost, but she doesn't. She has to take a turn, like, the players themselves, not the players, the heroes themselves have to take a turn to benefit from the additional turn meter boost afterwards. So she is not going to be very strong in cleave teams, but I believe that the meta is going to shift after a while, and more players will start focusing on teams where you can survive cleave teams. And if you are able to survive the first turn of a cleave team, usually the cleave team runs out of gas and you can punish them for it. And I believe that players will start that kind of meta where you want to build tanky defensive heroes. And I think that's when she's going to shine because she is able to contribute a shield, turn meter, and healing like every turn, right? Not every turn, but for the two of her turns. And I think that's going to be a pretty strong defensive option, which is going to make your whole team a lot more tanky and harder to kill. So I believe that, not right now, but later on, she would be a pretty strong PvP option, but only when it gets to that kind of tanky kind of team. And not only, like, I mean, anybody could do that. Like, even if it's a cleave meta, you could still have your own tanky team, but you're usually not gearing for that. So unless you want to allocate a lot of resources to building a tanky team, and it can't just be her, right? Your whole team has to be like that. Your whole team has to be having enough health and defenses and other damage reductions to be able to survive the first turn cleave. And once you do that, then a player like her will be able to make your whole team shine in PvP. Let's talk about gears. So with this skill, it has a cooldown of 4. And once she casts it, she's able to elongate her turns to make sure that her 2 turns with this thing on, the 2 turns that she has casted this effect, actually lasts a while. But what happens when she does take those 2 turns? After that, you have to wait 2 more turns. And sure, those 2 turns that she doesn't have the buff is going to come sooner because of the special effect of this thing, which is going to make whenever an enemy takes a turn, she gets extra turn meter, which is amazing. But still, you have to wait for 2 whole turns. And during those 2 turns, she's not really doing anything, in my opinion, right? So the best way to build her, in my opinion, is to give her a lot of cooldown reduction. So that's the reason why I picked this shell, Halloween shell, which is going to reduce her cooldown, by 1 every 3 turns. In addition to that, I would also give her this one, the Time Weave modules, because this has a 35% chance to reduce the cooldown of all skills by 1 turn. So that's, I think, the way to build her, to give her as much cooldown reduction as possible. Halloween is also not, the problem with Halloween is that she will reduce the cooldown of 1 random skill on cooldown, right? So if she happens to go and she uses this skill and Halloween does not trigger, and then she uses this skill and then Halloween triggers, right? Because there's an 80% chance to trigger. She reduces the cooldown of 1 skill. So she might actually reduce the cooldown of this one instead of the one that you want. So Halloween, there are other options as well instead of Halloween that you could use. But to be honest, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you would use, because she will not be taking her turns frequently. Her turns will be slower. This one, Artisan might be an okay thing to put on her. And the reason you might want to go with Artisan, even if she's slower, is because since she takes her turns later than everyone else, like, after she uses a skill, the next turn will come later. And because she is doing that, this will probably not overlap with another hero that has Artisan as well. Because if you have 2 heroes that are using Artisan one after another, and they both target the shield to one, whoever has the lowest HP, that shield will, it will not stack. But if you have one hero that uses shield, and then after another, turn, because she's so slow, after another turn, then she takes a turn, then that Artisan shield will probably, if the same hero has very little health, it will replace the shield, but at least, it's been a whole turn. It's not like right away, right? So it's not a bad idea to use that on her. But I think those are probably the 2 things that you might want to use, either Halloween or Artisan. You might also be able to get away with Codex of Magic. I'm not sure, to be honest. I have to do more testing to see if it's worthwhile or not on her. But those are the different builds that I would go. Probably one of those 3 is what I would choose. If you have other options or other suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. So not only can I see it, but anyone else watching this video would also be able to read these comments and say, hey, you know what? That's a good idea. I should use that shell instead that this other guy is recommending instead of luck, right? For her right side, I would go with as much HP as possible, because the shields are based on HP, she doesn't really need anything else. She doesn't need effective accuracy. She doesn't need damage. So she just needs health. She doesn't even need speed. You want, you know, like maybe some speed is okay to make sure that she gets her first turn. But beyond that first turn, she doesn't really need speed. You kind of want her as slow as possible, especially for pure PvE. You want her as slow as possible so that, you know, her buff lasts for a long time. For PvP, it's tough because you kind of also want to give everybody a shield, right? So maybe you want her a little bit faster. And for PvP as well, usually the fight doesn't last too long, right? So for PvP, maybe you want to gear her differently and actually increase her speed so that she's able to give the shield and these buffs to your whole team. But yeah, that's it. What about priority of skills? So this is the one that I would max out for sure. Her third skill. I think the benefits to these effects are pretty strong. At level 2, she increases the shield amount. At level 4, she increases it even further, so it goes from 20% of her health to 24%. So these are both, you know, pretty good. Level 3, she increases the effective turn meter to 12%. So that's pretty good too, right? It starts off with 9% turn meter for her Moonlit Veil, and then it goes to 12% every time one of your heroes takes a turn. It's just not a bad effect, like 12% extra turn meter whenever a hero goes. That's pretty good. Level 5 increases the healing from 6% to 8%. Again, not bad. You know, this is like it's like almost an extra passive, an extra 12% turn meter, an extra 8% healing whenever an ally takes a turn. That's not, you know, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good and strong passive. So this is the one that I would definitely max out. The first skill, it's debatable if you want to max it out or not. It does increase the turn meter boost from so I mean there's two turn meters here. So the first thing is that whenever she does do a normal attack, 2 random allies will get 8% turn meter. And that turn meter will go from 8% to 10%. And extra turn meter is always good. Like, you know, this is not bad. This is a pretty good extra effect to have. And then the brocade effect, where whenever an enemy goes, she gets an extra 6% turn meter. And when she has Moonlit Veil, whenever an enemy goes, she decreases her turn meter by 6%. That effect goes from 6 to 8 as well. And, you know, it's like an increase of 33%. So it's not, you know, it's pretty good. Over time, it adds up, and it does keep her faster and slower where you want her to. But it also gives you extra 15 speed, and you kind of want her to be slower, right? And you also have to invest 4 lattice in it. So I don't know. There's a lot of heroes that want that lattice. What is it called? The lattice requirements, right? There are a lot of heroes that need it. So I think this is good, but I would probably hold off on it. I think this one is priority for sure. Like if you're planning on using her, I mean, you can still get away with her at base and not put any at all. I think she would still work okay. And to be honest, for myself, when I am using her, that's how I'm going to be using her for a while, because I need the lattice investment in other heroes. So I'm going to be using her at base. But if you are planning on investing in her, this is the skill that I would level up first. Then I would probably hold off. Like I would see if I really need to invest in the first skill or not. And if I am doing content just fine without investing in the first skill, I'll probably not go for it. The second skill, I would not go for it at all. It's just not worth it. And the other problem with the second skill is that if you're using this every 3 turns instead of every 4 turns, it's also going to make you not use this skill, right? And this skill, the normal skill, is, in my opinion, a better skill than this one, because this is also going to increase 2 of your other heroes' turn meter by 8 to 10%. Whereas this one, okay, it does damage, but and then it gives you an additional turn meter and healing for 1 turn, but it's lower than the amount that you would get for this one. So anyway, That's what I feel. So I feel like I feel like it's actually a bit detrimental, to be honest, if you level up the skill. So I would, right now I would probably go with base myself, and then when I can spare the lettuce, I would level up the skill, and then I would probably just wait and see. I don't think I would need to put any into this one, and definitely I would not invest in the skill at all. So that's it for my review of her. I hope it gives you some ideas and how to use her. Let me know if you guys, like this review, and if there's anything that I missed, let me know in the comments as well. And I will see you guys next time. Take care now.